Hey, thanks for reaching out. If you need closed captions in YouTube, you can click on the little CC button, and I find that it works on my voice to text. For what it's worth, um, I'm here to talk to you about your question, and it's really good because there's lots of things that have been written about it over the years. But how do we find those sources so you can find newer stuff or the most scholarly stuff? So the first thing I did is I went to the web and I went to AI and I asked it some questions, and it was kind of a lot of them pointed to the Prison Policy Initiative, which is great because they have examples of infographics and things like that. But I had a really hard time finding the sources that they cited. So you could maybe use this for like keywords or inspiration, but these are not necessarily reliable sources. Ooh, I like how that it breaks the fourth wall. Utah is like way ahead of Portugal in incarceration rates. I mean, like, oh, that's such a powerful graphic, but where did they get that? Um, so, how do we find those resources? Another one is Bureau of Justice Statistics. I talked to one of our government documents librarians, and that one's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. If you find something, it's valid, it's really good. It's not scholarly per se. It's just data, but this would work. But some of this might not be out there. The government has not been the most reliable source for even-handed presentation of data. Some is being suppressed. So that one's kind of like, we're not quite sure, but it might be worthwhile going in there. So what do we have in the library that I can recommend for you? In a nutshell, you could do keywords, so pretrial. So for example, if I search for this looks through a whole bunch of different databases and the library catalog. So there's like books, book chapters, DVDs, and streaming video and newspaper articles. If I just do pretrial as a search, there's tons and tons and tons of stuff to look at. So for example, articles, there's thousands of articles, and there's thousands of peer-reviewed journals. And so you could go in here and add that. But what do I do if I want to add another keyword? I could do and poverty. So what it's doing in this one is it's looking for this is not a smart search. It's only looking for the characters pretrial. And then after it finds everything with that, then it's looking for things that have that word in it. So you could narrow it down that way. But we're missing out on bail, and we're missing out on bonds, and we're missing out on socioeconomic status and things like that. How do we get around that? If we go to, excuse me, I've got like allergies. If we go to the library homepage and go to advanced catalog search, then we could put in bail or bonds or pretrial, if I could spell it right. If you misspell something, it's only going to look for those. This doesn't have a spelling checker. And poverty, this is where we can expand out all of the synonyms and related terms. So how do we do that without having to go to great lengths? Well, I have a guide for that. Hang on to that thought. When you go to research guides right here, I have a guide for criminology. If you type in the keyword criminology, so there's a guide from every librarian on campus. So you can look up research skills, religious study, ethics, copyright. And I'm building the criminology guide. So there's only one right now. Thankfully, it's close to what you're looking at. When you click on this guide, all these keywords down the left-hand side are ones that are in the library catalog. So let's modify one. So remember the advanced search of the library catalog? When I click on this, it preloads a search. And what I can do is go in and modify it. So I'm going to change it to bail or, oh, I had pretrial detention. I'm going to do or pretrial or pretrial detention. If you put something in quotes, it'll stick those two words together. So for example, criminal courts, and I'm going to get rid of racism, as if it were that easy. And I might even do criminal, if I spelled it right, criminal. So pretrial is like the big anchor keyword. That one's like statistically most likely to be what we're interested in. And then, so if I do a search, I'll show you, you can keep on searching and searching and searching. So if I do this search, there's 396,000. But if I go back up and I try and think of words that are related to socioeconomic status, like poverty, what it's doing here, you can see my next calendar thing. It's looking up those words. But what other words are, inequality. So I do poverty, or that might come across as like racism. So let's do, I don't want racist inequality, I want socioeconomic. Socioeconomic. So you just think of words that are related to that. And if you can't think of words, just go to your favorite AI and say, what are synonyms for an academic library for poverty? Or unemployed, or underemployed, or affordability. I'm trying to think of all these other words. Did I put income? Okay, now I'll send you all these keywords so you don't have to work on this. There's two more things. So this one, there's a lot that has been written about this. Scholarly books, you can look for if it's like a university press. That means that they're obliged to have it be unbiased, unless they say so, that it's not. Some of these things will be outside of the United States. I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't use a United States keyword because our court system shows up mostly because we're in North America. What you can do is you can look at those books, but if you have to find scholarly articles, you can narrow it down this way, and then you can see what's going on. But here's, the economic costs. That might be the cost to the criminal justice system. But what if we want this to be the most important thing? So instead of having to go through 500 results, we can say, I want this to be in the title. All of a sudden it takes the keyword from showing up anywhere, but it has to show up in the title now. Then there's 79. And here's how you can get your data. So this is ones from outside of the United States, and that one is too. That one's Canada. Socioeconomic, there's Kenya. Well, maybe there's a lot that aren't in the United States. Multi-site analysis. Okay, here's something from last year. And you can get the PDF or you can read it in HTML text. But, hey, look at this. The human costs of pretrial detention are paid unequally by different groups. There's a stat. Let's look at the PDF. Oh, I haven't done that today. I thought I had done. Sorry for this delay. Okay. Don't proxy my site, thank you. Okay, when you're looking for data in a scholarly article, you don't have to read the whole thing. What you would do is you would look for the main idea of what they're talking about in the abstract. So the average length of jail stays is increasing. They can't say something in the abstract unless it's backed up by evidence farther in. So this one looks at like racism. Oh, here we go, neighborhood poverty. So they talk about poverty. So what you could do is go down and look at that section where they talk about poverty, and they will give you data and numbers. Women are less likely to be held in jail, and you can glean through things like this. You can also look for graphics or data like this that you can then turn into an infographic. You should be able to cruise through a scholarly article rather quickly like this. So if you're in an article and it doesn't quite feel like it's working, skip it and move on to a different article. So let's see, here was poverty. St. Louis. So even though this the sample's going to be very local to St. Louis or Louisville, so it looks like it's Kentucky, what you're going to be able to do is say, this is part of the United States, and this might be a good sample size for what's going on. But also, one last thing, there's another table that you can glean data from. It's likely, oh yeah, race and poverty, there's some numbers in there. I mean, I'm all excited about race and poverty. I'm excited about finding the data about race and poverty. But if you go to discussion, but if you find that you have a good article, go to like the end, and they will give you more information that you can add. They typically won't have numbers, but this will be an assessment of what the numbers mean. Lastly, in this guide, so we have this, but there's also very specific databases that you can go into. Let me show you databases. So for example, if you go to this link right here, there's 450 or so databases. Each one has a different disciplinary scope. And you can go to criminology, and you can see a list of databases. Oh, I gotta change it so there's a different database at the top. Our librarians don't recommend this one first. Criminology collection, I think, is my favorite. Let's go to the guide. Criminal justice database. Okay, linking from here is the exact same as linking from that database page. So you could do your exact same search in the database. So I'm going to do that exact same search. And you might get more articles, or you might get different articles. There's going to be some overlap between the two. Let's have that be in the abstract instead of just the title. I only want peer-reviewed articles. I only want stuff from the last 3 years, so you can really narrow it down in the database interface. Fingers crossed. Yeah, 46. Yeah, there's, oh, low income. I didn't think of that. And if you don't like that search, you can always modify your search and say, I want this to be in the title. Document title. Cashless policy. No, I don't want Nigeria. Ooh, there we go. For what it's worth, reach out to me as you go, but this is the starting strategy that I would have. But I think it's a great topic, and you should be able to find lots of different things. If you find something that is really narrow, use it to supplement the evidence that you're looking for, because most of the articles aren't going to be like the big picture of everything all together. That's what your infographic helps your reader understand.